Hey guys, welcome to the Pilot Jam for Friday, April 19th. This is first Pilot Jam after being really messed up sick, like crazy amount of sick. It wasn't good. I had one of those, I don't know, it was an industrial strength cold. And I am just now starting to feel a little normal. I still have a little bit of a scratchy throat, still coughing a little bit, but man, I'll tell you what, it's been a rough 2 weeks. So I've been down on the videos, obviously, while I've been convalescing. And believe me when I tell you, you didn't want to hear this voice. So tonight, we're going to go kind of low and slow. We're just going to kind of take it easy tonight. I do have some stuff planned. It should be fun. But it's going to be an easy night tonight because I'm still kind of coming out of the woods a little bit. So it looks like Fred was here first. Good job, Fred. He got in just under the wire in front of Shane. And then after that was Richard Webb. Hello, Richard. And then Robert was the judge, and he called it for Fred. And he is correct. Fred got in there just ahead of Shane on that one. Dan Griffiths is here from Texas. How you doing? And cool Bill, cool hand Luke there. He slides in a cool 6th place, and he's okay with that. Good job, Bill. Good to see you again. Drummond is here. How you doing, Drummond? Good to see you. Keith is here from the great state of Massachusetts. Four Eyes is here. How's it going? The David Knutes is here. Howdy from Texas, he says. Sir Trumpington, hello, evening all. How are you? And William Tam is here as well. Okay, so let's see. Week in review, right? It's going to be kind of short because only 2 videos, and I only got started on the videos again like yesterday. So the Ranger first look, I'll tell you what, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever you think of FMS, they have been a very good partner to the channel. So all I can say is they provided a lot of content, a lot of airplanes, a lot of stuff for us to take a look at. And, overall, I'd say they do a pretty good job. There have been a couple little things. That F-16 wasn't all that great, the little one. And the Flash, that was a little bit of a handful. That was a handful to fly that one. But I'd say overall, they do a pretty good job. Well, they gave us the Ranger, and the Ranger is 1800 millimeter. You guys all remember it was the 1330 or something. So it's a little bit of a smaller Ranger. We did the maiden on that, and I actually got to teach Freddie how to fly fixed wing on that plane, and he still flies it. He still flies it. He has a good time with it. A nice little plane, and I am sure that the new Ranger will be just as good. Let's see. Robert says, just want to throw this out there. Proud of my buddy John, sicker than a dog, took it on himself to do 2 videos this week. That's right, in the Pilot Jam. Thanks, Robert. Yeah, I appreciate you, man. But anyway, yeah, so the Ranger, he learned how to fly on that one. Then they sent the 1800 out. And I also have news for you. I have the little one too, the 850, and that's ready to fly. I'll be doing a video on that as well. But the big Ranger is going to go as a donation from FMS and RC Video Reviews to EdgeTX Fest. So the idea there is that during EdgeTX Fest, we're going to train people that show up and have never flown a plane, like to go for a buddy ride. One of the pilots will take them for a ride on the buddy box using a Radio Master radio, of course. And then at the end of the event, we're going to give that airplane away. That's going to be a donation to somebody. It's going to be a gift. Somebody's going to win that plane. So if you're not familiar, it is October. I will put a link in the description. I don't have it in front of me. I don't want to give the wrong dates. But it's October 2024, Lark's RC Club in Tavares, Florida. So if you like to come down and hang out, the EdgeTX crew will be there. I'll be there. The RCVR crew will be there. And we're going to have a good time. We're going to play with radios. We're going to do some flying. It's all going to be good. If you do want to show up and fly, you do have to have an AMA membership and all of that. That has to be current, right? That's the rule. Not my rule, field rule. That's just the way it is. So anyway, that was the Ranger video. A little bit of a tangent there to explain a little backstory on that one, but really grateful for FMS sending that one out. That's a nice airplane. That'll be a very nice giveaway airplane. Really, really nice. And then next up, I did the video on the output mapping. And I had had that video on my mind for a long time. And I thought about it. And then one of the guys came in on a video I did several months ago, and he said, hey, do you have a video on output mapping? I'm like, I need to get that one done. So the output mapping video, that was the other one, and that just dropped today, not too long ago. And, of course, the Pilot Jam. So that's it. Over the 2-week period, that's it. And I'm going to tell you guys something right now. If you are a stockholder at any of the pharmaceutical companies, you're welcome. There it is. EdgeTX Fest, 26, 27 October. There it is right there. See it? 26, 27 October 24. There you go. Lark's RC Field. Anyway, if you're a stockholder or shareholder in any of the pharmaceuticals, you're welcome. Because I tell you what, man, they profited from me these couple weeks. It's been rough. All right, let's see. I'm going to check comments, and then we're going to get going here. Hobie says, hate to say it, but we miss you. I miss you guys too, man. I like hanging out with you guys on a Friday night. Robert says, or equivalent of an AMA. So, Robert, the ruling on that, according to the club, is that there is an AMA affiliate membership. So if you're not local and you're not in the AMA, you can get an AMA affiliate membership for the period that you're here, and then the AMA will cover you. But you do have to be a member of a community-based organization that the AMA recognizes. Okay? So AMA affiliate is the ruling from the club on that question. Okay, so that is it for Week in Review. And one other, well, I'll tell you what, it's the first topic, so let's just get right into it. Migrating to Mac. So if you guys remember, I know a couple guys at dabble in pharmaceuticals. Yeah, I feel like one of those dabblers, I'll tell you what. All right, so migrating to Mac. Last time I did a live stream, it was the first time I did a live stream on a Mac. This is the second time I've done a live stream on a Mac. And I've been trying to cure problems like buffering and stuttering and audio issues. And I think overall, the last time it went pretty well. The only problem that I saw and I was told about during the live stream was that when we were in the, let's see, it was in the chalkboard, right? It was in the Blackboard section, this one, that the video, the Blackboard section there was getting pixelated. And I watched it. I watched the video after it posted, and sure enough, I saw it. Sadly, there's really not much I could do during a live stream to correct that, but I did make a few adjustments. So I adjusted the image. I converted, instead of using a JPEG, I used a PNG, and then I used a different image viewer to put the questions up. So hopefully that cures things, but I didn't want to let you guys know that this is only the second time, not 4 times, second time, that I've done a live stream from a Mac, and I'm still kind of looking for problems. So Robert says looks 10 for 10 for me now. Hopefully the audio has been good. I'm really, really hoping that this solves some of the issues that I saw in the live streams in the past. And I can tell you guys, I went all in on the Mac. So I bought a nice Mac, and it is hopefully going to have all the power. And by the way, it wasn't like I cheaped out on the Windows machine either. Just Windows, you know. I don't know. I've got my glasses on. What's the problem, man? Is it not good, Shane? I've got my glasses on. Hopefully it looks good. Everything that I can see looks good. Like the stream health looks good. The connection looks good. The chat looks good. The images look good. Everything looks good. No drop packets. The bitrate looks solid. Hopefully. So Bill says, which Mac platform, Mini or Studio? It's funny you ask. I was actually looking at the Studio initially, but they're on an M2, and they're not coming out with the M3 probably until sometime in June, which is not that far away. But I did not want to struggle with the Mac that I had, which was an M3, but only 8 gigs of RAM. So I had a MacBook Pro M3 with 8 gigs of RAM, and I did the first live stream on that. But I think that might have been part of the reason that I was struggling with the images a little bit, because when you're doing a live stream, you got a lot going on. You got the browser, you got the streaming software, you got all the video compression, decompression stuff. And with only 8 gigs of RAM, I think that might have been why I was seeing that pixelation, or could have been a contributing factor. So in the last couple of weeks, I upgraded to an M3 Max 16-inch MacBook Pro. So the nice thing about that for me is that it's 2 hardware encoders for ProRes, which I've already done a couple of videos now, and I can tell you video editing on this is just insanely good. It's smooth like butter. And it's got plenty of RAM, 36 gigs of RAM in this one. And the other cool thing for me that I have never had in the entire time I've been doing these live streams, I've never had it, and that's a dual monitor, which is super nice on a live stream because it gives me a lot more control over what you guys see, and I can kind of hide the man behind the curtain a little bit better. It's a little easier for me to do that. So anyway, fingers crossed, because I definitely took the plunge and went all in. And so yeah, I'm running a 16-inch M3 Mac. It's not the Pro. I'm sorry, it's the Max. It's the M3 Max, and that's a 36 gig machine. So hopefully that'll last for a lot of years. Hopefully get a lot of years out of this one. So anyway, we're still in the process of migrating. I've done a couple of videos now. I'm learning a new video editor. I still use DaVinci, but I'm using a new photo editor now, Photoshop Elements instead of the one I used to have. So I still have some things to learn there. I'm not really very comfortable with that just yet. And as far as the rest of the operating system goes, it seems to be pretty straightforward. And by the way, I've been a Mac guy for a long time. I got away from Mac when they started selling MacBook Pros that used a one generation older CPU, and then when they introduced, so they were selling the one generation older Intel Core CPUs, and then they started throttling them due to thermals, and then they put those stupid butterfly keyboards on us. That was it. I said, that's enough. You guys are crazy with the thinness. You're putting crap keyboards out, generation older CPUs that are thermal throttled, and you're still charging a premium, so I'm out. And I switched to Windows for a couple of years because of that. So Apple, now they seem to have their stuff back together, right? They seem to have figured out the keyboard issue, and they're using the Apple silicon. So hopefully, they'll be back on track and delivering performance the way they had been for a long time. So anyway, that's it for the migration to Mac. I just want to let you guys know, in case we see any hiccups or whatever, keep an eye on things. Let me know if you see anything. If anything goes sideways, let me know, and I'll try and figure it out. But hopefully things are going really well. Okay, next up, I'm going to check comments, and then we're going to get going here. So Hobie says RCVR community. I wish, I'm not one of those recognized. I'm not a FRIA. If I were a FRIA, I could fly out of my backyard. So Robert says, looks 10 for 10. Good. Got your glasses on. Which Mac platform? Got that. Audio's good. Got that. Let's see. Too bad Mac has issues running a lot of software for drone. Oh, off-axis. It's not a lot of issues. It's almost all issues. For that reason, I gave my son all my good Windows computer hardware. I took all of his computer hardware for Windows, and I'm going to keep a Windows desktop handy, but it's not my primary machine anymore. But you're absolutely right. Tons of issues with things like the S-Proto software for Scorpion ESCs doesn't work. A lot of the FTDI dongles and drivers don't work on Mac Silicon. So they just don't work. Even in Parallels. So I actually bought Parallels and activated a copy of Windows in Parallels, and it still doesn't work. So yeah, there's all kinds of issues with Mac. But what I'll be doing is I'll be upgrading my desktop copy of Windows from Home to Pro, and then I'll be using Remote Desktop. So I'll leave the machine running down here in the corner. I'll just Remote Desktop in if I need to and plug stuff in on USB if I have to. So yeah, absolutely right about that. There are some definite issues using a lot of the software in the RC community related to Macs. That's a definite problem. Hobie says, I'm surprised after all these years you never had dual screen. I know, right? I used to kind of force the issue with a big monitor, but man, is it nice to have dual screen. It really, really is nice to have dual screen. Even when I'm editing, I can do things like put Discord in one screen and edit in the full screen, and I don't have to stop every single time I hear a chime come in just to check on what's going on Discord. So it's really nice. I see Tim joined. How you doing, Tim? Glad you can make the party. Fred says big screens are awesome for the sim. Yeah, they are, no doubt. Oh, and that's another one. Steam works on a Mac, but Real Flight doesn't. Can you believe that? So I can't even use, I just bought Real Flight Evolution. I can't use it on a Mac. It's kind of a bummer. Bill says my wife's been threatening to transition over to Mac with her online play. I'll tell you what, Bill, Mac, as far as an operating system goes, what I really, really like about Mac as far as an operating system is that you get all the tools like the photo sync works between your phone and the computer and the applications. That's nice. You get iMessages on the desktop, which is super nice. So if I'm, during a workday, whatever, the wife, texts me or one of the kids texts me, I don't have to stop and pick up the phone. I can just talk to them right there from the computer. That's really nice. The Find My app is great. So a lot of really nice integration on a Mac. Although I will tell you, I'm really disappointed in Safari. I was hoping to get away from Chrome and move to Safari, but Safari's just not ready yet. It's got too many bugs. But overall, I'd say, yeah, it's been a good experience so far. We'll see. Hopefully it'll stay that way. I don't know what to do about the RC software. I'll just have to keep a Windows computer handy, I guess. That's all I can do. Mike says, looks solid. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. Let's see. Hobie posted the link for Discord. Very good. Told her about you taking the plunge. Yes, sir. Yeah. I think the wing sim is now converted to mat. Ooh, that'd be good. I might have to try that out. This one or the Turbo Timber Evolution. I've never flown the Turbo Timber, so I'm not sure. I'll tell you what, I do like the, if you want something a little more acrobatic, I do like the Cubs. The FMS Cubs are really nice. And so is the Kingfisher. The Kingfisher is nice. That's a nice plane. Chrome for the win, says Tim. Yeah. All right. Let's get down to brass tacks here. I'm going to take a drink, so hold on just a minute, guys. Oh, throat is not happy. I've been sucking down these lozenges to try and make it more tolerable, but boy, it's rough. Okay, so let's see. First up, ELRS updates. That's the first topic of the day, so I'm going to go to my workspace. See, now this is what I'm talking about. This is one of those things that's really nice because before I used to have to stretch the screen over here and move windows. I used to have to park windows like I used to have to park them right off screen just so you guys couldn't see them and then squeeze everything and stretch it. It was a pain in the neck. But now with dual screen, I can see the chat window over there. I can see the whole live stream thing going on over there. It's really nice. Really nice. Dual screen is nice. I'm not going to lie. I'm happy with that. Okay. First up is the ExpressLRS. Now, I just told you guys Safari has some issues and I'm using Safari. Well, the thing is I use my personal browser is Chrome, but my public persona browser for RC video reviews is Safari. And that way I don't do things like accidentally click on my bank statement or tell you guys what bank I use or, accidentally click on Find My Friends and show you where my wife is, that kind of stuff. So you separate, that's what you do. It's how you avoid issues like that. So anyway, I'm on Safari. That'll be my secondary browser for the live streams and for videos, right? That's the idea. So ExpressLRS, I did want to show you guys that ExpressLRS has a new firmware out. It is a release candidate. So let's go back to the main page to show you how to get that. So ExpressLRS, here's the main page. And then if we scroll down, I have this zoomed in too much, so I am not seeing the side view. Here it is, ExpressLRS. Click on that, John. Now we can see it. We click on releases right here. And when we click on releases, you can see that we now have ExpressLRS 3.4.0 RC1. Now, I haven't seen Brian pop in tonight. So I'm not sure if he's here or not. But what I will tell you is I've looked through the list, but I haven't studied or completely internalized yet all of these changes. But there are some substantial changes in 3.4, which we kind of knew was coming. Most importantly, they'd left a comment in here that says, who should not update from 3.3? And the answer is our STM32 users. So if you're an STM32 users, that's the Happy Model ES915, the Namino RCV1, the Flash Voyager, the FM30 Ghost, and FreeSky R9 hardware. Don't upgrade. I guess they haven't done everything they need to do for those chipsets yet. Okay, so who can upgrade is our 3 LBT users, which sounds kind of funny, and anyone else who is interested in the latest and greatest features down below. So I thought I would cover just a couple of these. I'm not going to go through the whole list. I'm just going to cover a couple of them, but I wanted you guys to get an idea and just be aware that it is a release candidate. One other thing I'll point out about the release candidate concept is that on RX firmware, I'd be real careful here. Now, I know for a fact that the ExpressLRS crew are super, super diligent people. They're very diligent, very detail-oriented. But release candidate 1, you really want to be able to, what I would say is you have to, whatever you fly with this, you'd have to be willing to lose, right? I would say that. Now that's not, I'm not trying to say that you're going to lose it. I'm just saying you have to be willing to, because you might come up against something that was unaccounted for. It's a kind of significant release, and it is RC1. So you might, if you don't have anything you're willing to risk, you might want to wait till something like the release version or maybe RC3, one of the later release candidates. So I just want to point that out first, okay? All right, so with that out of the way, couple of new options. They've got a team race option. It looks like it's got something to do with multi-GP and handoffs. So you can click on that and take a look if you want. There's a match TX telemetry option. I know that they did something with the Wi-Fi power levels. I'll get to that in just a minute. So Wi-Fi power levels, they're doing the match telemetry option. They did a revision on the bind process, and I think the bind, that was mainly to help out with the receivers that were already bound and that shipped on like flight controllers using Betaflight. So sometimes you couldn't use the command line to get it to go into bind mode, I guess. So they kind of made some corrections there. I don't want to say corrections. They're doing workarounds in firmware to accommodate for the fact that certain hardware manufacturers are not listening to the instructions. Oh, sorry. Taking a pause there real quick. Okay. The next big one is the support for hot telemetry sensors. You guys have seen some material from me on that. That's now pulled into 3.4. And we're going to look at some of that tonight, by the way. I have a couple things to show you. And a handful of others. So, D-shot output for PWM receivers is very cool. Configurable I2C pins for PWM receivers, very cool. PWM failsafe modes like no pulse hold and custom set, very nice. Multiple I2C, SCL, SDA selection options. And then there's an option in here about the Wi-Fi firmware. Oh, here's the binding stuff I was talking about. Support the CRSF bind command from Betaflight and EdgeTX. The RX now remembers the last packet rate on disconnect for faster connect. So what I've been doing for a long time is setting my receiver packet rate to equal my transmitter packet rate for a quicker bind. Now they've automated that. So now your receiver remembers the last packet rate that it used to connect, and it should use that when it powers on again. So all kinds of neat little upgrades going on here. Let's see. I'm looking for the Wi-Fi. Let me just search for it here because I know it's in here. Wi-Fi. I have to click on Safari, I guess. Wi-Fi power. There it is. The Wi-Fi power levels. This one I've been kind of wondering about for a long time. And I'm not sure if what they're saying here is it's limited to the 8285 RX or the Bandit ESP32 module, or if these were just the ones that were tested. But anyway, it says Paul Kendall, he's the guy who did S-Bus, by the way, increase the Wi-Fi power output on the ESP devices from 13 to 19 on the ESP32 and 20.5 on the ESP8285. So that sounds positive. Sounds like a good thing. To have a little bit more Wi-Fi power when we're in Wi-Fi mode doing configurations on ExpressLRS. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to share that with you and make sure you were aware that on ExpressLRS, they have released a release candidate 3.4.1 or 3.4.0, sorry. And you need to be, keeping an eye on it because that'll go mainstream once they get through the release candidate phase. All right, I'm going to take a look at questions. I'm going to take a quick pause for a drink, take a look at questions, and we'll get back to work. Oh, boy, this is the most talking I've done since I came down with it. Oh, boy, I'll tell you what. Let's see. Mike says, Radeon driver issues are terrible. I guess, is that for Mac, I guess, maybe? I'm not sure. Well called, Junior. I kind of like the Cessna look. Yeah, if you like the Cessna look, that's good. The Ranger, yeah, definitely has that Cessna look for sure. Sir Trumpington says, I like the look of the X-Fly Glasstar V2. Watched a few videos on YouTube, about 160 here in the UK. Okay. All my stuff is still on 3.3. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, man. 3.3 works. Captain Bryce here. Hey, Brian, thanks for the work, man. I saw, I went through the changelog and I saw your name next to so many different things. So I know you've been pounding it out. If there's anything you'd like to mention or share or embellish on that I've covered so far, obviously feel free to chime in. Okay. Let's see. Hobie says, for the new guys here on the PilotJam, please seriously consider, the Patreon. Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Hobie, for mentioning that. If you guys are new or you're not aware, patreon.com, I have a tier for $3 a month. So it's like a cup of coffee. If you want to help kick in and help me make content for the channel, you can do that. Patreon's a really good way to help out if you care to. And Hobie gave me a get well card. Thanks, Hobie. Very nice of you, man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, let's try and get back to it. EdgeTX updates. Those are next. Same kind of deal. I'm not going to go through a big uh, a big effort here on EdgeTX, other than to let you know, I think the last time I did a video, it was release candidate 1, and they're already up to release candidate 3. And one thing I thought I'd show you, aside from the fixes, which they list right here, a lot of what I'm seeing looks like translations and modifications for different types of radios. So color black and white radios, for example. Fixes for ExpressLRS pass-through flashing on USB telemetry. Added a missing event page down. Ignore potential unwanted key events. So yeah, just little corrections. These are not big feature updates. They're just little small bug fixes. But the main thing I wanted to show you guys here, if you want to keep an eye on things and figure out, what's actually changing, is the full changelog right here. It's really nice of them. They put this link in here that allows you to take a look at what's the full changelog for what's been changed between release candidate 2 and release candidate 3. So this is how I keep current on what's happening. I go and look at the changelog and I see what they're doing. And this also helps inform me the sense of urgency I might have on whether or not I want to make the upgrade. This changelog is how I do that. So if I see something in here that I'm like, oop, gotta have that, then that encourages me to probably change a little bit earlier. If I don't see anything in here that looks like an absolute must-have, then I might just take my time and let it ride a little bit and let other people do the testing and get involved with it after I see things stabilize out. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out to you, that when you look at the changelog, if you look carefully, you'll see this little link right here, and that's the full changelog for prior versions. And when you click on that, by the way, you can also change over here, and you can pick other things. So if you want, you can make other choices in terms of what you'd like to compare in this window right here. Okay, so you could type like 2.9.4 maybe, or .3, 2.9, maybe just 2.9. There you go. So you click on that and you can get a comparison. Look at that, 1,600 files changed, 630 commits. That's a lot. That's a lot of work. So anyway, there you go. That's that. I just wanted to show you that they're on EdgeTX 2.3 now. Wow. Okay. All right. That's it for the workspace stuff. The next up is RC3D, right? Yeah, RC3D. I just have a couple of quick little things to show you. I'm going to set the radio aside, and we'll go into the big camera. And the first thing I want to show you is now, here's the funny part. I could have swore that I had one of these receivers, and I was going to stuff the receiver in here. I printed it. I was going to stuff the receiver in there and show it to you. But then I went to grab the receiver and realized I gave it away. This is for an ER6 or ER6GV, a Radio Master. This case was made by Richard, who is on our Discord, and he posted this in the 3D printers channel. So there's an STL. I pinned it. So if you want to download it, you can look for the pinned files on Discord. And there it is. All it is a little slip-on case for your ER6 receiver. There's a couple of holes on this side right there, 1 and 2 for your antenna leads to come out. There's a couple of holes right here. So one of those, that's going to be the boot button, I'm pretty sure. And that is your solder pad for your VBAT. So he accounted for everything, and it's wide enough to keep your decal or the wrapper on the receiver when you stuff it in there. So just nice little hard case, 3D, RC3D. Thanks, Richard, for sharing this. Very nice part, and I'm sure it'll work fine. When I get a ER6 receiver, I will stuff it in there and let you guys know. But it looks good so far. Okay. The next thing I wanted to show you, I have not pinned this one in the 3D printer channel yet, but if you go to the field and you need any kind of AAA or AA batteries, I am constantly going through batteries at the field, and I buy them in bulk. So the problem is I don't like loose batteries just floating around in my bag. So I just printed this little battery case. It's a AAA, and I also have one for AA, by the way. So I have one for both, but it's a AAA case. It's got a little lid. It just sits on top right there. I squeeze that, and I throw that in my bag. Now all my batteries stay together. So this is another one of those little lifesaver type tools that you get with 3D printing. No supports required. It just prints just like this. It prints just like that. You print it up, you stick your batteries in there. And, you know, for me, the reason I use these are for certain of my voice recorders, like the Zoom F2 that Freddie still has, by the way, that they need these types of batteries. And other devices like my Tascam audio recorder that use AA batteries. So nice little device to keep your batteries compact. And of course, it doesn't just have to be for radio control. This could be for anything, but I use this all the time. It's always in my field bag. Every time I go to the field, I have that with me. Nice little AAA battery case for RC3D. There you go. That's it for RC3D tonight. Short, short and sweet. Trying to push through it a little bit here. Trying to tough it out. All right. Hobie says, where's Precious? Well, I mean, you know, Precious couldn't be too far away, right? Had to have, we need something to trigger, Robert. All right, let's see. I want to see what's going on next here. The Graupner sensors. That's a good one. I'm going to check comments first, and we'll get on the Graupner sensors. Hoey says, jump in Discord. Guys, I can't stress that enough. I continue to be amazed at the depth of questions I get on YouTube where people are basically like writing a book. You know, they're writing 3 paragraphs long. And the reality is you simply cannot answer questions like that on YouTube. Discord is a much, much more friendly platform for troubleshooting issues like that. So get on Discord. Let's see. Where's Precious? We got Precious out. Anything else I should update in TX16S? Just the main firmware and internal multi-protocol. That's pretty much it. You get those two and your SD card contents. You know, make sure those are current. And if you have any LUAs, you know, like if you're using ExpressLRS, for example, and you update that firmware, make sure you grab the latest LUA for that as well. But that's just about it. Let's see. I have one of those AAA and AA that look like a magazine out of a rifle. Oh, nice. And they come out like a bullet, huh? Receivers don't come with cases anymore. No, those receivers have the little cardboard wrap on them. Some, you know, most of them do. The ER6 though, that has the case. I'm talking about the you know, it's the glider one, the skinny one, the ER6G and the 6GV, right? All right. Why do you guys got to be like that? I was being nice tonight. Oh, Robert, here it comes. Now that's gone. It's on. Okay. All right. All right, guys, let's see. Let's get back to business here. Graupner sensors. Yeah, let's do that one. That's a neat little topic. So Graupner sensors, what we have there is, you guys remember that I had done I thought I misplaced it. I'd done a couple of videos on these RC Light Systems ETC devices, the ESC telemetry converter, ETC, and I got into these once we saw HOT enabled on ExpressLRS. So I've done some videos on that, and it's really cool. What I like about this is that it's not gonna it doesn't take up much space, and it does have a limited number of ESCs that it works with, but it gives you voltage all the way up to whatever voltage you can plug into your ESC, and the current comes off the ESC. So it's a really cool device. I've done a couple of videos on that. I'm not doing that tonight, but the reason I wanted to show this to you first is to give you an idea on what's coming up next. What's coming up next is I've got an AM670 motor here. This is a T-Motor AM670. Excellent motor. This is the AM116 ESC. This is D-Shot. By the way, this ESC is supported by this device, but I have something new to show you, and that is this little guy. Now, this little guy, what's interesting about this one is that this is not ESC dependent. So in other words, if you look closely at what's going on here, here's our throttle wire from our ESC, and that plugs into our radio. And then here's a little Graupner lead right here. That Graupner lead that plugs into the serial inputs on the receiver. But this is the sensor. And the idea that I have here, now these are a little spendy, okay? They're a little spendy. I'm just going to tell you, it's like $70 for this thing. So it's not cheap. In fact, let's bring up the workspace and I'll show it to you. There is a link for this in the description. Oh, this one's 84. Sorry. Oops. The XT60 version, I'll show you that one. The XT60 version is $70. So there you go. XT60, $72. This one, the XT90 version, is $84. So it's $12 more. But it's good for up to 140 amps. And in terms of voltage, it is good for, I think it's, what is the voltage on this thing? Up to 60 volts right there, 60 volts. All right, so now let's plug it in and take a look at what's going on here, because I want to show you why this is meaningful. The reason it's meaningful is because when you have the right firmware on your receiver and you have support for Graupner Hot, you have the ability to have this device travel with your batteries. Like, it doesn't have to stay in the plane. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to plug it into the battery, right? Like that. And then if you leave this lead right here on your receiver, all you have to do when you plug in your battery is just plug it in. That's it. Now we're ready to go. That's all I had to do. 2 connections and I'm ready to go. And now I'm going to get voltage on my setup. So what I'll do next is I'm going to bring the radio in so you can see it. And you can see I already had voltage right there. So now I'm just going to plug the ESC into the other end of the sensor. And that'll activate things. Telemetry recovered. There it is. 22 volts right there. And then if I run the power up, you can see the amperage being reported right there, 2.5 amps. So what this means now is that you don't need a specific ESC like one of the supported ones for the ETC converter. It doesn't have to be a supported ESC. This works with anything because it goes in line in between your ESC and your battery. So you're basically feeding your current from the battery through the sensor and to your ESC. So it's a pass-through for your ESC, but there's a little tap over here that says, hey, let's grab some of this information and send it over to the receiver. And all you have to do is enable the Graupner Hot serial protocol on the receiver, and that's it. So you may say, well, John, what the hell, man? $70, $80? So I'm not suggesting, and that's why I said this travels, right? The idea behind this is it can travel. So my suggestion is not to go add these to every single airplane you have. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is that you can add this to any new airplane where you want to get data. If you want to do some motor testing, you want to get that static load on the ground. You want to get your dynamic load by flying it up in the air, see what happens when you're flying it, you know, what change is between dynamic and static. You can do that now with this device, and it works now in 3.4 ExpressLRS. We just covered this, where they're adding Graupner Hot serial protocol. Now in 3.4, you can simply connect one of these sensors into your receiver and you're good to go. Now, I got to give you the downsides to what's going on here. So number one, they just made another change where you no longer have to make the same diode cable. See this cable? You only have to make the diode cable for the EPW6 style. I forget the chipset. I'll look it up later, but the idea is, bottom line is, for like the ER6 style receivers with the UART in the back, you don't need a diode cable anymore. So they corrected that in code. But on these receivers, you still need the diode cable. So that's downside number one. You have to know which one's which, and you have to get the right cable. You know, you either have to make it or not make it, depending on the receiver you're using. So that's point number one. Point number two, that's really important to understand here with this arrangement, is that I'm using the serial interface, the serial protocol on this receiver for telemetry, which means I can't also run S-Bus out to a flight controller or a gyro, okay? That's super important, because if your idea is to say, oh, I'll just hook that up with my flight controller, now I'll have a gyro and voltage. No, you're not going to do it that way unless you do PWM to your flight controller. So just keep that in mind. We're consuming the serial protocol. We switched it from S-Bus or CRSF to Graupner, and now we're running that into a sensor, okay? Now, I'm not familiar enough with Graupner to say whether or not you could daisy chain and run a serial protocol off a sensor into a Graupner receiver. Maybe you can. I don't know. Maybe one of the Graupner guys can chime in and let us know. I don't know the answer to that question, right? What I can say is that for this setup, where you might be interested in using S-Bus out to a flight controller or a gyro, that will not work here. The good news, I guess, is if you're using a flight controller like a computer, you probably don't need the current and voltage sensor. You're going to get that off your flight computer, okay? So those are the two downsides. I just want to make you aware. You have to now understand which cable you need. And, so if you're using the EPW chipset, the EPW6 chipset, I think it's 82, 85, whatever. Someone will keep me honest. But if you're using that chipset, you need the diode cable. And if you're using the chipset for the ER6 style receivers, like the Radio Master, you do not need the diode cable. You just need a 3-wire connector, and that's it. Okay? But there you go. Voltage and current sensor. And the other cool thing about that is you're not limited to the voltage limits of the receiver. So if you have an ExpressLRS receiver that's got a voltage limit of, say, 30 volts, you don't have that limit, right? Because you're not reading the voltage itself from the receiver, even in with the divider. It's telemetry coming from the sensor, so it's just a number. It's not actually the voltage. So that hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that is it. I'm going to check comments real quick, and we will get going. By the way, RCVR has my ARS 300. You're looking for an ARS 300, huh, Hobie? Let's see. Interesting. Mike says, Buddy is offering a killer deal on Skywing ARS 300 decked out. I'm nervous about it being my first balsa. Should I keep being a Sally? Man, I'll tell you what. Ask Fred. Fred's here. He flew a balsa plane for a 3D balsa plane the other day, and he really liked it. So look at that one, the MXS, the 48-inch MXS. Freddie just flew that, and he did a good job with it. So I'll tell you what, the balsa planes fly nice. Hobie says, I've got his ARS 300, huh? I see how it is. Fast Freddy says, I had to get a cookie. So Fred can tell you about the balsa planes. What is ExpressLRS? I use RX8R Pro receivers. Anything I should worry about? Yeah, I'm not going to get into that here. I think ExpressLRS is the answer for me, so that's what I do. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Let's see. Mike, yeah, it has the AM670 and Savox servo. She's dialed. Yeah, the AM670 is really nice, man. That's a strong motor. Real strong motor. I like it. I like it a lot. Price is a little steep. I'm not sure what the reference is for, Ice. Steep up here in Canada, that would be what you'd pay for a 40 amp. Oh, yeah, for the sensor. Yeah, I know. Right? It is. I'm not going to lie, man. It's not cheap. It's not a cheap solution. The good news is that you don't have to buy a bunch of them. So if you want, and by the way, just to give you something I thought about, they have the XT60 and the XT90. I went ahead and got the XT90 because I can always neck down to an XT60. So that's okay. Now, I definitely wouldn't want to neck up from an XT60 to an XT90 though, because that might be too much current for the XT60, if that makes any sense. So anyway, just something to think about. If you're going to do any of them, if you have any XT90 connectors at all, you might want to get the XT90 version. All right. Let's see. I never update my receivers. Is it bad? Well, if it works, it's not bad, right? Let's see. RC plane. John has a video on that, and it's not that hard to do. Pass-through voltage. It's not pass-through voltage per se. It's just a number. So what's happening is the sensor is just reporting the voltage value that it sees on the line. So it's not actually passing voltage through itself per se. It's just passing the value of the voltage through. Hopefully that makes sense. Those two radios next to each other look like what Precious looked like before meth. Before meth. That's pretty funny. I forgot you're in Canada, Robert. Yep. If it's your budget, I highly recommend Balsa. Yeah. Balsa's nice, man. Balsa's nice to fly. It is. It's hard to compare. It really, it's good stuff. Okay. Let's see. That's it for the questions. I'm up to speed. Next up, we've got Q&A, and thank heaven for that, man, because I am running out of voice here. I'm doing the best I can, but I am running out of voice. So let's see. I'm going to bring up my Q&A section, and we're going to go to the Blackboard. And this is where we had problems on the last live stream. I'm hoping this one is not a problem. So if it is, you guys let me know. If you see any issues, let me know. Mr. 3 GTP says, best tutorial ever. for this radio. Goodbye dual rates. Hello infinite in flight. This is actually a really cool video and one of my favorite comments of the week. Really makes me happy when somebody gets some of my material and says, oh man, that's what I was trying to understand how to do. I like that a lot. But if you haven't seen it, just be aware. I do have a video out there that shows you how to set weights and expo with your knob or your slider. It's pretty cool. So if you're dialing in a plane, for example, you can use this video to show you how to set your weights and expo right there with a knob or a slider. And then you can also set it up to read the value off to you as well. So it's a very cool little trick. I'm glad Mr. 3GTP found that one. The next question comes from Jasnam Bayer. He says, can you help me with binding of the EPW6 to Radio Master with Access Thor Crossfire? I'm not sure what Access Thor Crossfire means. I have no idea what that means. Maybe Access Thor is a ExpressLRS transmitter and he's using the CRSF protocol. I think that's probably what he means. But my answer to this gentleman and everybody else is, when it comes to binding ExpressLRS, the only way I've ever done it is with binding phrase. So I can't even help with the other methods. I know they're documented. I know you can press buttons and get blinky lights and all that stuff, and that's all fine and dandy. But honestly, the only way I've ever done it is with the binding phrase. So my recommendation is always just do the binding phrase, because I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, 100%, the binding phrase has always worked for me every single time. So if you're going to bind ExpressLRS stuff, do it with the binding phrase. All right. Kojka says, pity one only finds, this is back on the B6 Neos, still pieces of junk, still should be taken off the market, still should stop being sold by retailers. This is an unsolicited comment 8 days ago. He says, mine charges happily when powered from USB-C, but it blips and stops right after starting when powered from XT60. These chargers are crap. Tell your friends. Don't buy them. And if you're a retailer, you should take these off the damn shelves, man. It ain't right. This is not right. I cannot believe these are still being sold to people. Total fail. Let's see. Ark Monty says, great video, mate. Can you please tell me which receiver you are using? I use ExpressLRS for everything. So ER6s or ER8s in my nicer planes. I do have the Beta FPV 14 channel. I'm going to try that one out. That has some compelling options. So there are some things about that I like. But yeah, pretty much ExpressLRS for everything. This particular plane has an ER6. So next up, let's see. This is Taylor Anderson says, hi, Dave. How do you get voltage telemetry? I don't think the Futura came with a smart ESC. Isn't that nice? On the ExpressLRS receivers, pretty much everything I buy at this point, they all have the VBAT sensor. So on, say, a Happy Model EPW6, you can get it off one of the pins, the battery, the VBAT pin. And on the Radio Master stuff, they have a dedicated red voltage wire. You can pull it directly from there. But you don't need a smart ESC anymore. So that's another reason yet to love ExpressLRS. Now, we get voltage, and there are limits. You can go up to 30, 35 volts. I'm not aware of any ExpressLRS receiver right now that goes as far as, say, 55 volts, like you might see on a 12S setup, 50, 55, you don't have that. That's, by the way, part of the reason that I've been monkeying around with these telemetry devices is because if you don't have a device like one of these, then you are limited to 6S voltage. That's why I've been messing with these, because I have 12S models. Right? That's the answer. Okay. Anyway, yeah, that's the idea, man. The VBAT pad on the ExpressLRS receivers. That's how I get it for planes that are just 6S. Oh, by the way, I still get them on 12S too. I just recognize and set my alerts based on only half of the series voltage. Okay. All right. Mr. Huber 101010 says, man, you're a freaking genius. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge. Now I don't have to worry about my plane still being trimmed up the next time I arm it. I'm going to tell you something. Dave and I talk about this a lot. As we get older, we both have realized that we don't quite have quite the same memory we used to have when we were a little younger. And he got ready to take off one time, was flying a plane, and realized he didn't do his idle up. He put his idle up on a switch. And he realized it. He said, oh, I forgot to do my idle up. That's why I do the auto idle up. I try and use the radio logic to help me, especially given the amount of planes I go through, to help me when I fly a plane. Remember, hey, these are things you're supposed to do with this particular plane. So the auto idle up, if you haven't seen that video, it's a good one. And even if you don't need the auto idle up, you can still watch the video and discover concepts that you can use elsewhere in your programming. So glad I was able to help. Super Crypta says, hey, John, can we charge simultaneously 4S with 6S battery on the Hoda F6? The answer is yes, you can. That's an important concept about this particular charger is that all 4 channels are discrete. So you can do 2S on one, 3S on the next, 4S and 5S. Doesn't matter. Whatever, as long as the input voltage is supported, you can set it for any voltage level per port that you want. All right, FPV Avery says, I'm stopping this video 27 seconds in to say thank you already. I can tell this is exactly what I need. Thanks for your time and knowledge. Another one of my favorite comments of the week. Very nice, very nice. Appreciate you, FP Avery. Hopefully you didn't stop after 27 seconds. You kept watching the video, though. That helps. Here's another one on the piece of crap B6 Neo chargers. I totally agree with you. First thing was the fan started being noisy after about 2 hours of charge. After that, it charged batteries to 4.31 per cell. That's scary, even though it's set to 4.2. They should be, I mean, what else can I say? I'm not soliciting this stuff. These are people coming in and telling me their experience. I'm telling you these chargers are dangerous. They should be avoided. They should be pulled from the shelf. Someone's going to burn their house down and get hurt. I'm telling you, these chargers are crap. You shouldn't use them. I've been doing this for a long time. I've tested a lot of hardware. These chargers are crap. You should avoid them. Okay. John D says, hey, John, informative, great video as usual. So far, the following bugs. I found the following bugs. So John went on to list a bunch of feedback on the ELRS gyro. I did a video on that some time ago. And the reason I included his comment and not all of the things that he addressed wasn't to hide it. You can go look at the comment. It's there. But the point was, go tell the developers. So if you're seeing a problem in ExpressLRS or EdgeTX, the best thing that you can do, especially if it's a repeatable problem, is to get on the GitHub, open the issues page, and tell the developers. And that was my response. Like, hey, thanks for sharing all this. That's great. Make sure you tell the developers because they're the ones that can do something about it. So we don't help them if we don't tell them what we're finding. And I can tell you, having interacted with a lot of these developers, they're all happy to hear the feedback if you find a problem, especially if it's repeatable. So my response to John D was, go make sure you put it on the on the ExpressLRS GitHub in the issue tracker. All right, I'm not even going to try this username. He says, does anyone know what sort of range you might expect with a Boxer and the ELRS Ranger module using an EGR V8? I'm worried about losing connection to a 3-meter sailplane. Line of sight. Well, my answer on that was I simply copied the link to the ELRS leaderboard and pasted it into the response and said that any concern about losing link with ExpressLRS during line of sight flight is misplaced, misguided. I can tell you, in the absence of a configuration failure or a hardware failure, the tech itself is not to be, you don't need to be concerned with it. It just works. I've logged a lot of hours flying ExpressLRS at this point, and I can tell you it just works. All right, Dean says, as always, great video. I'm a massive fan of Sunny Sky motors. For me, they're the pinnacle. I'm wondering if the small machine scallops are to help dissipate heat. Yeah, my reaction to this, and I wanted to put this up there just to give Sunny Sky a little airtime. If you haven't used Sunny Sky motors, especially their V3 motors, you owe it to yourself to try. They are really good. So they're very powerful. They're very quiet, very reliable. The Sunny Sky V3 motors really are just on another level. I consider them to be on par with the T-Motor AM series. They're that good. So if you haven't checked out the Sunny Sky V3s, make sure you do. Jason, he says, great video. Do you have any info on setting up the reflex gyro, or is it just plug and play? This is in reference to the 1800 millimeter Ranger. And what I would say to Jason, what I did say is that FMS does the reflex V2 gyro is not very configurable. You can change the profile. You can load a different plane profile in there, but that's about it. That's about all you can really do. But what I will say is that the profiles they've come up with for their planes are really good. They're very effective. So when I first did my first Reflex V2 video, I thought, wait, what kind of gyro is this? Why can't I change stuff? But I can tell you that the V2 and the profiles that they've put in these planes, they've done a really good job making them appropriate for the plane. So these are plug and play. Let's see. BW Oostdam says, I have a student that brought this one to start flying. I've never liked foamies, still don't. I was smacked in the face. The plane flies incredibly well. Its size and therefore its easy seeing through the skies is something to behold. To my surprise, the power system is absolutely superb and intended for lots of hours of flying fun. Thank you for bringing it in the spotlight. See, that's a nice field report. I like that kind of stuff. This guy's got firsthand experience flying it. And I can tell you guys that in my own experience flying FMS planes, by and large, they do pretty well. They're pretty well. I would say that FMS planes are I've never flown one and said, wow, that's wildly overpowered, except for the Flash. The Flash had a lot of power. But most of their planes are powered a little on the soft side, but perfectly adequate for what the plane is intended to do. You know, I know a lot of guys, they like to do the upgrades, increase the prop, add, bigger ESC, bigger batteries, bigger whatever. And that's fine. Your money, your hobby, do your thing, make yourself happy. But I can say for, the way the plane is intended to fly, they generally do a pretty good job matching power to the airframe. I can't really complain there. All right, Scott Valance says, hey, I wonder if anyone can help me. Here's one of those questions. This guy, he flashes a firmware, flies his plane, then in order to fly a different plane, he flashes another firmware. So this is what I mean by those book-style questions. First off, the answer is no. You never should have to flash a different firmware to fly a different model. That's just not necessary. And then the second answer is get on Discord, right? This is the kind of question that you don't answer on YouTube. It really needs to be something that's handled on Discord. And that wraps up the Q&A. So I'm curious. I'm going to check comments, and then we're going to get wrapped up here. Let me scroll back a little bit. It's in your budget. Let's see. Okay. I like turning my knob and slider. Fred, yeah, that doesn't disappoint, Fred. That checks out. That sounds about right. I thought you were more of a slider guy. Yeah, Fred's a slider guy. Why did I know you were going to say that, Fred? Yep. See, Fred, they're on to you, my man. The Hills have FPV, binding phrase, and have them set up. Connect your Wi-Fi, makes updating so easy. Yeah, absolutely, man. I have mine all set up to connect to my Wi-Fi and the binding phrase, and it's just absolutely ridiculously easy to configure. ExpressLRS guys, man, they're good. They're good. You got to give them credit. They're good. Mike says, is the binding phrase permanent? Seems like a commitment. Well, sure. I mean, you can always change it again. You can always flash it again, but you kind of want it to be permanent. I haven't changed my binding phrase since I started flying. And if I sell an airplane with a receiver in it, all the next guy's got to do is flash it with his binding phrase. Very simple. Let's see. Going, take the whole weekend to recover. Yeah, I know. Hobie says we're coming up on an hour. It's going to take me a weekend to recover. Yeah, no, I'm gonna swallow half a gallon of Chloroseptic. That's what Freddie says about live streams. We talk technical stuff. Yeah, he only makes it through the first 27 seconds of technical stuff. It can get nerdy at times, a little bit. Yeah, and I like the glasses, Fred. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's see. 27 seconds. That's longer than. That's degenerating. I can't believe in some groups that never heard of Sunny Sky, right? I know. Sunny Sky Motors, they're just, and I'm not sponsored by them. They've never sent me one dime worth of equipment, but that I didn't pay for. But I like them. I like T-Motor too, though. I got to be honest with you. On the big stuff, I like T-Motor. I like Dual Sky. I like Sunny Sky. Those are the three. X-Power is pretty good too. X-Power is pretty good. You can change the values in the profile on the reflex if needed. Yeah, there are some things you can change. I know, but it's you can't do things like reverse the servos or change the master gain, that kind of thing. And the Reflex V3 is going to hopefully fix all that. Let's see. I was able to update the value in the configurator. Yeah, but you have to go into the actual JSON or something, right? Isn't that what you have to do? It's kind of not like you might have pulled it off, man, but come on. That's not the way things should be. Scott Valance wrote you an autobiography, it looks like. Scott Valance, okay. Horizon Hobby planes equal FMS planes. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, they're like they're on a similar quality level. Like what limited experience I have with the Horizon planes, I think I've only flown a couple. I had the Leader 480, that was a Horizon plane. I had the Casendo, that was a Horizon plane. Very limited experience with it. Oh, I had the the Arrows, that's not Horizon. So I don't know. I like FMS. Freddie says, I already forgot my binding phrase. Okay. Yeah, see, Mike says you had to change the JSON. Yeah, it can be done, but man, that's more pain than it should be. The V3 gyro, that has the phone app, and on the phone app you're supposed to be able to change the direction of the servo, so that's good. But that's buggy right now, it doesn't work. Your binding phrase, forgot my binding phrase. Your binding phrase is I forgot my binding phrase. That's pretty funny. Okay. Let's talk. Let's see. Agreed. It frustrates me to have to go that deep. Yeah, I know. To reverse the servo. Okay. Oh, he says FMS makes them for Horizon. Aha. I wonder if they make them to their spec or if Horizon puts their own gear in there, like their own ESCs and their own motors, right? I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Next up. Coming up. Okay. In terms of coming up, obviously we have the Maiden on the Ranger. That's going to happen. We've got the Maiden on and the video for the Little Ranger. That's a ready-to-fly model, so I'll be using their radio. I'll be doing the ready-to-fly version with that. And then the other things coming up, the FMS also sent me a couple of more 64mm Futuras. And what they've asked us to do is a video where we fly the Futuras in formation. So a little bit of work to do on that. We have to get ready for that. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to pull that off yet, but it's going to be me for sure. Maybe Dave, maybe Fred, maybe one of the guys from the club. We'll see. But I have a couple of Futuras that we're going to be flying. We're going to have some fun with those. And then not too long, we've got Joe Nall. So Fred and I are going to be going to Joe Nall, assuming I don't come down with another bubonic plague. So that'll be coming up next. We'll be getting Joe Nall soon. And hopefully we'll get a chance to do some flying this weekend. We'll get the Ranger out and take some video of that going on. So that's that. Hobie says, gimme. You know, the Ranger, the big Ranger is going to go as a giveaway at EdgeTX Fest. And I think maybe the Kingfisher will as well. So it might be those two that'll be giveaways at the event. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. So, and then regarding the Futuras, my theory on the Futuras, Shane, was whoever does the flying gets the plane. So if I'm going to make these guys do formation flying with me, I'll probably let them take the airplane home with them. So that'll be the gift from the channel and from FMS for them doing the formation work with me. So that's the idea. Anyway, that's what's coming up, guys. And with that, we are at the bottom of the video. So I'm going to check the comments one last time, and then we're going to pack this one in, and I'm going to go drink me a bottle of Chloroseptic. Hobie says the Futura. Well, come on up, man. If you want to fly one of them, if you want to fly in formation, I'll send one of them home with you. How's that sound? Can you do that? Come on up, man. You can fly with me and Dave. All right, guys. I don't see any other comments. Let's see. I think I covered everything. Hobie put the link for Discord. Get in Discord. Don't forget about patreon.com/RC Video Reviews if you want to join me there. $3 a month. I can tell you guys the Patreon stuff's going the wrong direction lately. So I'm going to start putting Patreon ads back in there again. I laid off that because we had a nice little growth pattern for a while, but it's kind of tapered off. So I'm going to start putting the Patreon ads at the back of the videos now again, just to remind people I've got a Patreon if they want to help out. So patreon.com/RC Video Reviews. I have a tier for $3 a month if you want to help. And guys, you know, I'm not kidding. That's the kind of thing that allows me to do this. It allows me to go out and buy these things, test them, figure out how they work, and then show it to you. That's how I do it. Patrons help with this kind of thing. So to all you patrons who open up your wallet, I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And I think that wraps it up. So if you guys hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. Leave a comment after the video post. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I hope you get out to fly. Go, if you can, get out there and fly something. That's all I've got for tonight. Take it easy.